Okay, so we had the Vibrio cholerae, or the cholera disease. And our group consists of Jamie Green, Aaron Munson, me, Sarah Phillips, and then Mary Catherine Zachary. So my name is Sarah, and I'm going to teach you about the etiology as well as the reservoir, and then I'll come back and teach you a little bit about cholera and church history. So we're going to start with the etiology. This is a Vibrio cholerae bacterium. It is gram-negative, so the gram stain shows up as pink or red. It is Vibrio shaped, as you can see here. So it's a bacillus shape with a little bit of a bend in it. They're arranged singly, in pairs, or in S-shaped forms. It is aerobic and facultative anaerobe, so it likes air, but it can survive without it. It has a polar flagellum, as you can see, and just the flagellum on one end. It is salt tolerant, so it does live in salty environments. Most strains do not produce toxins. As we'll see later, the toxin is what gives patients the signs and symptoms. And most of the strains that people contract as this bacterium do not contain those toxins. The toxic strains produce this bacteriophage that's listed here. They don't form spores and they don't have a capsule. So the reservoir is in shellfish or water, and they are usually from water that is contaminated by feces of humans or animals. So those contaminated water sources that people drink from are usually the cause of cholera.
Hello, my name is Jamie Green, and I will be talking to you about the signs and symptoms of cholera today. Most of the people that are exposed to cholera bacterium never become ill and don't even know that they've been infected. In most of the symptomatic cases, only mild or moderate diarrhea occurs, which is often hard to distinguish from diarrhea caused by other problems. Only 1 in 10 infected develop more serious signs and symptoms, usually within a few days of infection. These more serious symptoms include diarrhea, which comes on suddenly and may cause a serious loss of fluid, as much as a quart per hour. Diarrhea that is associated with cholera often appears pale and milky, and is often referred to as rice water stool because it looks like the water rice has been rinsed in. Nausea and vomiting occur in the early stages of infection and may continue for hours at a time. And because of the great amount of body fluids that have been lost due to the diarrhea and vomiting, mild to severe dehydration can occur within hours. The signs and symptoms of dehydration may include irritability, rapid heart rate, loss of skin elasticity, dry mucous membranes, and low blood pressure. Dehydration may also lead to an electrolyte imbalance, which can lead to muscle cramps and shock, which is one of the most serious complications. If untreated, severe hypovolemic shock can cause death. In general, children experience the same signs and symptoms as adults, but because they are especially susceptible to low blood sugar caused by the fluid loss, they may also experience an altered state of consciousness, seizures, and coma.
Cholera is an infection caused by the bacteria known as Vibrio cholerae. Cholera is transmitted through exposure to contaminated food or water. Often the feces of someone infected with cholera is the culprit of spreading cholera to a new host. The common symptoms of diarrhea, vomiting, nausea, and dehydration, as mentioned in the previous slides, are a result of a toxin that is secreted by the bacteria cholera, which targets the human intestine.
One interesting thing about cholera is that it does have a place in church history. So cholera actually broke out in Zion's camp with Joseph Smith and Hyrum Smith. And the people were told that if they didn't stop being so contentious, that there was going to be a scourge. And so they didn't listen, and the whole camp contracted cholera. And Joseph Smith and Hyrum went around trying to heal the people, give them priesthood blessings and Heavenly Father. was upset about that because the disease was a punishment for the people. And so Joseph Smith and Hiram also contracted cholera. And then Lucy Smith, Joseph and Hiram's mom, was worried about them, worried about their health because they were so sick. And so she prayed that they would heal. And as soon as she finished praying, they were both healed. So that's something interesting about cholera. And that's the end of our presentation. Thanks, guys.